Some crimes are horrifying, but then there are cases so strange, so deeply unsettling, that even after 100 years, they still feel like something out of a nightmare. This is one of those stories. In 1922, in a small, isolated part of Germany, a brutal massacre took place on a remote farm known as Hinterkaifeck. 6 people were murdered, an entire family wiped out. But what truly makes this case terrifying isn't just the killings, it's what happened after. The Hinterkaifeck farm was home to Andreas Gruber, his wife Celia, their widowed daughter Victoria, and Victoria's 2 children. Living with them was also their new maid, Maria Baumgartner, who had only arrived at the farm that very day. Just days before the murders, Andreas began noticing something strange. Footprints in the snow. They led from the forest directly to the farmhouse, but there were no tracks leading back out. At first, it might sound like nothing. But then more things started happening. Andreas reported hearing footsteps in the attic, heavy, deliberate movement, like someone was walking above them. He searched the house, but found no one. Then, a set of keys went missing. And one of the farm's newspapers appeared days before it should have even been delivered. Something wasn't right. Someone might have already been inside the house, but Andreas dismissed it. And that decision may have cost them everything. On the evening of March 31st, 1922, one by one, members of the family were lured into the barn. We don't know exactly how. There were no witnesses, but investigators later believed the killer used some kind of noise or disturbance to draw them out, one at a time. Inside the barn, they were brutally murdered. Each victim was struck multiple times with a mattock, a farming tool similar to a pickaxe. First Andreas, then his wife, then their daughter Victoria. Even young Celia, just 7 years old, was killed. Evidence later suggested she survived for several hours after the attack, trapped among the bodies. But the horror didn't end there. After killing the family in the barn, the killer entered the house. Inside, the maid Maria and the 2-year-old child Joseph were also murdered. 6 lives, gone. But here's where the case takes a dark, almost unbelievable turn. The killer didn't leave. For several days after the murders, someone continued living on the farm. Neighbors noticed smoke coming from the chimney. The cattle were fed and cared for. Bread was freshly cut in the kitchen. Even the family dog had been tended to. Whoever committed the murders stayed, ate, slept, and lived in that house, surrounded by the bodies of their victims. It wasn't until 4 days later that the crime was discovered. Concerned neighbors came to check on the family after they failed to show up for church and other responsibilities. What they found was something no one could have imagined. The bodies were eventually discovered in the barn and inside the house, and the investigation began. But from the start, things didn't add up. There were suspects, many of them. One of the most talked about theories involved Victoria's estranged husband, who was believed to have died in World War I, but rumors suggested he might still be alive. Another suspect was a neighbor who had previously worked on the farm and knew the layout well. Some even suspected a drifter, or someone with a personal grudge against the family. But no matter how many leads investigators followed, none of them led to a definitive answer. The case grew colder with time. Even more unsettling, there were signs that the killer had planned this carefully. The strange events before the murders, the footprints, the attic noises, the missing keys, suggest that whoever did this may have been watching the family, studying them, possibly even living in the house before the killings began, and then carrying out the attack when the moment was right. To this day, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain unsolved. No one was ever arrested. No one was ever proven guilty. The farm itself was eventually torn down, but the story never disappeared. It lives on as one of the most chilling mysteries in true crime history. Because this case isn't just about murder, it's about fear. The idea that someone could be watching you, living under the same roof, waiting, without you ever knowing. And maybe that's what makes Hinterkaifeck so disturbing. Not just what happened. Now I want to hear from you. What's your theory? Do you think the killer was living in the house before the murders? Or did they arrive that night? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. I read them all. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like the video, Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story. Because trust me, there are many more cases out there that are just as disturbing, if not worse.